Yeah, I have a disdain for new mama cows. They're built different. All right, we're here in Oklahoma City at the Oklahoma Electric Cooperatives Annual Meeting, and today, Granny is giving a speech.
No.
What?
No.
I told him you would do it.
No.
Hold on, everybody. Come on, you're supposed to do this. It's part of the agreement. We're not going to get paid if you don't. All right, you know what? I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll be the one. I'll take one for the team. I'll do it. But we're here at the Oklahoma Electric Cooperatives Annual Meeting. This is a lot of the co-ops throughout Oklahoma who represent a lot of the rural areas, ours being included, between Cimarron Electric and C&K. Lots of awesome companies, and we've worked with them with the Oklahoma Living magazine where Granny was featured. You know, on the cover girl Granny. And today we're going to go in and meet everybody and talk about Didier Ranch's story. Follow us.
Did you see that bag back there on that table with my name on it?
I did.
I think it's mine.
I don't think
Gatlin wouldn't let me have it.
It's not hers. She's trying to pick up.
I said, oh, it's a big bag.
Grandma just shows up to these things thinking people are just giving her stuff, so. Remember like the churro chips we have from Masa? That's like what a churro actually looks like. It's like a cinnamon breaded type. It's good.
All right, without further ado, Gatlin Didier.
One of my most earliest memories I really can think of was going to a co-op meeting with my grandpa. I remember, I think I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and we were out doing something on the farm, and all I know is like I'm getting dragged somewhere that evening, but he said, hey, clean up, you gotta look better. And we show up to this big kind of, it's a smaller town version of this conference room, but there's a lot of farmers and ranchers there. The main thing I remember after leaving there is that I learned what Cimarron Electric was and all the free stuff we got. So if y'all, you know, like being a farmer rancher, the main reason we go to any of these meetings is to get the free stuff. Just like why you buy a tractor, everyone knows you buy it for the hat. I mean, it all starts with my great-great-grandpa, Pierre Didier. Southern France, mountainous area wasn't very good and the opportunity didn't seem to be much there. So in the late 1800s, he decided, I'm gonna go to America and try this thing out. But he probably didn't envision that his future lineage would be a bunch of TikTokers. Just like him, I see a unique opportunity in what we're trying to do. There's a little bit of sense of rebellion in there. When I think about like, what's that mean to be a rebel, or what's that mean to be somebody who's kind of goes against the status quo, you think about our ancestors, like these people decided to uproot their lives wherever they were at for hundreds and centuries, and they decided to come to America, the land of opportunity. And in 1901, he somehow ended up in western Oklahoma. At the time, it was more known as like Cheyenne territory. And he landed in a small town called Fay. What made this so special? But then you look up at the sky, you look up at the land, you look up at the people, and then you go to other places. Other places don't have this. I mean, being a guy who went out to California for a few years, I'll tell you right, it ain't nothing like rural western Oklahoma. And to always think about Pierre, like this guy, like there's gotta be a reason I have a little bit of this rebellious spirit in me. Is it from him? Is that something in my DNA, hardwired? It's gotta be, right? Or is that just something that comes with this way of life? This guy, okay, so when people ask us our name, so we're French, Didier is the fancy way to say it. And as soon as all like our family heritage say, like this guy was telling people his name was Peter Didier. So I'm like, okay, this guy like went full rebellion against France as soon as he got here. Like, we're Didiers. There's no Didier about it. So I'm like, did it start with Pierre? Did it start with my great-grandpa, who was Pierre's, his 4th son, August? He had 6 children, and in 1921, when Pierre passed, August took over the family farm. A very interesting thing happened in 1950. One of the siblings wanted to sell the farm to make some money. And as you guys know, the way that it works, like when you don't have your trust and all that thing set up, that's how it goes. If one person wants to sell, it's got to go up. I came across this little piece of paper, and it was handwritten, and it literally says, like payout to the siblings. And it was everyone's name and how much they each got. August, on the day of the auction, bought the farm from all his siblings, and that's what correlated with the payout of that piece of paper I found. This guy went to World War I. This guy kept the family operation going, and he still had to figure out a way to like pay his siblings to keep this going, to keep it in the family. A month to almost the day after the purchase went through, him and my grandpa were going down the road, and at the time my grandpa was almost 14 years old. They're going down the road, and I'm not sure, the details are a little lost of how exactly it happened, but they got in a car accident, and the car flipped and rolled and threw them both out. And at 14 years old, my grandpa watched his father die. And then at 14, my grandpa took over the operation because somebody had to step up and do it. None of his siblings were in it, or his oldest brother was already doing his own thing and couldn't take over the operation. So him and my great uncle Bert Carnahan, a good old Irish rancher who only raised Herefords, decided he'd help him out and teach this young man how to keep the operation going with a little bit of cowboy in it, not just a French farmer. And a cool part of everything we do today is that the Bar X brand, that's part of it, like our apparel, the stuff you see when you see Didier Ranch, that Bar X right there, that was Bert Carnahan's family brand that he'd been using on all his Hereford cattle since 1917. So my grandpa wanted to pay homage to him for helping him get through a tough time. And he did this from 1951 until about 2004. He was operating and just busting my uncle, and my dad helped him a lot growing up. But it was all him and grandma usually working everything. And then, like I said, I'd come out and help out as much as the baby of the family can. I'd play in the wheat truck. I would, act like I'm feeding cattle, but probably toss a few pellets out. I was a little bit of a little rebel myself already at an early age. By 2004, he got diagnosed with cancer. This guy wasn't given very long to live, and he decided to prove the doctors wrong in very Didier fashion. Let's just kind of show them what we think of. There are a year to live. This guy fought cancer, had multiple different cancers come and go, and he lasted 6 years. I'm telling her, I'll never forget this memory of my grandpa. He's carrying these two 5-gallon buckets full of pellets to feed out the cattle in the little corral right there by the homestead, right after having chemo treatment. And you just see a guy, and it's just like, there's not even a wince, nothing on his face, just steady as could be. And I remember being so young and being very influenced by that. That's grit right there. That's perseverance. That's somebody, even when all the cards are against you, he's not deterred. And at a young age, I saw it from him, but I also saw it in all of our community. That is farming and ranching. That is agriculture. That is rural America. No matter what's thrown at us, no matter what can be against us, if we keep who we are as people, you fight through it. After he passed, my dad and my uncle took over the operation, and they're like, you know what? The whole doing wheat farming and all this isn't really our thing. Let's go to a full cow-calf operation. And I remember having a conversation with my dad right after high school. I was like, I'm thinking I want to go try this. And he goes, the ranch is still going to be here as long as I'm operating it, so why don't you go try it? Because my dad didn't get into the operation until he was 45 years old. He had to retire. He worked at a co-op. He was the manager of a co-op in Omega, Oklahoma for 20 years, and he worked at the one in Thomas McNeil Grain since he was 17. So all he knew was co-op life. And he said, I didn't start doing my dream or going after what I wanted to until I was 45 years old. I don't want you to wait around till that. So I got the bug into acting, started doing the scene studying and all that stuff, did stuff in Norman, Oklahoma, then Dallas. And then after I graduated college, I went out to LA for about 6 years. And the fun fact I mentioned earlier, got to audition some really cool stuff, got to work with some of the best acting coaches in the world. But what it did is leaving gave me the greatest appreciation from where I'm from. I guess that's why, I was talking about being a rebel. What knucklehead thinks he can go out to LA and make it from Thomas, Oklahoma, Fay, Oklahoma? No, the odds of that not happening are very, very, very slim. And then to get the idea saying, you know what, no one's giving me a job. I'm going to start throwing my videos on the internet and let's see what sticks. So right as I started doing all this stuff, this is where I think God's hand really came. My whole life, I believe he's had a hand like he does in everybody's, but you can really see when things happen. And right before COVID hit is when I started throwing on all my videos on the internet. Well, at the same time when that was happening, that's when I decided, you know what, I should go home for a little bit. Everything shut down in California, and my dad and them need help on the ranch, and I can make some videos while I'm out there, and no one's going to tell me I can't. I have to wear a mask. I thought I was okay, this is going to be when you're away from home. Is a part of me was I think I was wanting back to my roots, And one thing I always had in my head when I left, I remember this thought. I remember driving around the operation going, one day I'm going to come out, I'm going to come back and help this thing. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I had no clue. I came back home, and ironically, God's hand was like, all right, this video go viral, this video go viral, this video go viral. And I'm like, what? I'd go back to LA, try to film a few things, nothing, flat. At the end of 2020, I finally, after some convincing, I was telling my wife, I said, hey, honey, I need to go out there for like a month. Like, we got some traction here. I think we had 100,000 TikTok followers at this point. And I said, let me just go try this. So she gave me her blessing. I went out for a month. And in that month, I grew my account, doubled all of our accounts. And then I filmed a bunch of stuff. I saw something when I was there. And it was something about educating, entertaining, and enlightening people about our way of life. And that's when I started doing these things called Farm Stuff with Daryl type content.
This is a hot shot.
And that video took off, so I saw something. And I was like, all right, me and my cousin, that y'all would probably know as Gate Bart now, at the time was not Gate Bart. He was like, let's make a bunch of these. So we just started going around the farm. It was like, all right, you used to get out and get my gate, so you're the gate bee now. All right, let's make a video about that. All right, what's this one? Grill guards. No one even knows why we have these. Why do they call them round bales versus hay bales? Oh, what's another one we could do? How about we talk about pliers? Why do farmers always carry pliers in their pockets? And we just started telling all these different stories in a short, quick form. And before you knew it, we had 100,000 followers to 600,000 people in like a month. And I'm like, I've struck gold. People want to know about farming and ranching. How did I miss this leaving? And as time went on, we start bringing in Gate Bart. We start bringing in now famous Granny Bibbins, who is now the leader of the pack when it comes to all following and our stuff. And I can vividly remember a guy, he used to be one of the creators of Shark Tank. He told one of these creators, he's like, you influencers are a bunch of idiots. And the guy's like, what do you mean? He said, all these brands pay y'all all this money to promote them. Y'all need to have your own products to promote because they are exploiting what you have. And I had a light bulb at that moment. This is before, I was sitting at 80,000 followers. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I'm ever one of these influencers that this guy's talking about, I want to have a product to promote. But what product can I have? And then I looked out and I saw the pasture, I saw the cattle, and that's the light bulb I'm talking about. I was like, the ranch. So as we're building this following, I bring this up to the ranchers, and you would have thought I said that the moon was purple. Sell our beef to your followers? Are you kidding me? And it took some prying and poking and a year of more success and going on national tours and doing stuff, and then them seeing their mom get famous. It's a kind of hysterical, as you guys probably know the personalities of your classic farm and ranchers. They finally told me one day, you know what, if you figure out how to sell our beef direct to consumer, we'll try it. The legacy is not getting built, it's being continued, but it's becoming more sustainable because now we're building a business out of it. For a long time, ranching was never seen as a business. It's just treated as something you do. That has been the greatest blessing I could have had outside of being a dad and a husband, is taking on an endeavor like Didier Ranch. At the end of the day, I don't question these opportunities, these things happening. I don't question the good people that God keeps putting in my life. If you don't got family, if you don't got friends, if you don't have your integrity, and if you don't have faith, you don't got anything. But if you have all those, you're the richest person in the world. And I'll tell you guys, I feel like Warren Buffett every day, even on the days where I get kicked in the shin, literally by a heifer, or metaphorically by a heifer. Being an entrepreneur, all that stuff, like you get kicked every day, maybe multiple times by a heifer. And I could go on and on about heifers, why we sell them and don't keep them back. And I have a disdain for new mama cows. They're built different. But at the end of the day, all this is about family. To come back full circle, Cimarron Electric. You're a huge part of my memory with my grandpa, and a huge part of why Farm Stuff with Daryl is what it is. One of the biggest items I remember from ever getting at that co-op meeting was a Cimarron Electric hat. And if you all ever saw any of our early viral videos, my very first viral video to like my 30th viral video, I was wearing a co-op hat. And I'm only 32, I'm still figuring it out, but what I'm noticing now, what my perspective is, and the reason I do everything I do is about family. And it's about being people of integrity. And it's about keeping the faith that we've always had in farm and ranching. Thank y'all so much for your time. Appreciate y'all. All right, Grandma, how do you think your speech went? Your speech.
My speech didn't go good. It was good.
Not too bad.
I told Stephen I never know what you're going to say, but that was good.
Well, I try to tell the truth and speak from the heart. That's what I try to tell.
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
All right.
That's the best.
You really were fond of the audience, huh?
Yes.
She said people her your age, right?
Yes. Old people.
Well, we're going to head back home, but this was a day in the life when we come to the city to give a speech. But basically, we just want to show people that sometimes we do this stuff. We go out for speeches and awards, banquets, and things like that. But we love to tell our story and love to tell the story of rural Oklahoma and rural America. So we got to give a special shout out to the electric cooperatives for having us.
Yes.
They were very, very just great hosts.
Yes.
And they're just so nice. It's just good people.
Yeah. Right.
So you
Good.
can't, we like good people, right?
Yeah.
Good finds good is what I believe. Do you believe that? Good finds good.
Oh, well, that could be right. I didn't know that. I hadn't thought about
I think
that.
it's biblical.
Okay.
It might be somewhere in the Bible. I'm not
Good.
sure.
I
Granny.
don't know.
All right. Well, I guess Didier Ranch is going to head back to the ranch.
Okay.
All right. Until next time, y'all.